This is the default application I have taken, and I have taken a new view controller. I have simply dragged and dropped. This is view controller. Let me give some color for this view. This is view controller. I'm just giving some color for this. I'm just taking one button. I'm moving from one view controller to another view controller. I'm making this as full screen. I have not done much things here. I have just drag and drop one view controller, and I'm moving from one view controller to another view controller. Simple. This is the first view controller. I just want to show you the second view controller. So second view controller is displayed. The difference here is for this view controller we are having separate class. For this view controller there is no class. Still we are able to see the same functionality. Even if I can also remove this as well. Now this is one view controller. This one is another view controller. This has a class. This view controller is handled by the view controller, which is a class of UI view controller. Now I am changing the root. This is called initial view controller. I am changing the initial view controller to this view controller to this view controller. See the difference? There is no difference. When do you want to subclass the UI view controller is the point. You see the same white screen only. Even if you put here, you see the same white screen only. But the difference here is this view controller is handled by the subclass of UI view controller, and this view controller is handled by the UI view controller. This is handled by the UI view controller. This is handled by the view controller, which is subclass of UI view controller. My question here is, when do you need to subclass? When do you need to use the directly view controller? What is the purpose of subclassing? To add the additional functionalities, right? To perform any additional functionalities from the view controller, you have to subclass it. Here, I want to perform some operations like when I click button, I want to move it to the second view controller, and I want to perform some operations when user clicking on the button. When user clicks button, I want to perform some operation. To perform some operation, there should be some trigger point. Simply drag and dropping button here and clicking, nothing happens. When you click the button, you have to perform some operation, some code you need to execute. That code where you write is in the subclass. Basically, you're extending the functionality. The default view controller does not give you anything except the white color view. If you want to add additional functionalities like adding text fields, adding labels, adding buttons, switches, there are many controls which you want to perform or which you want to display content on the view controller. You have to have a handler for that. Handler for the extended view controller. That handler is a subclass of UI view controller. I can make the name change here. For now, I'll keep it here like this only. I want to add buttons. I want to add text fields. I want to add labels. First, I am going to take text fields. Let display label. Let me write display label. UI label. UI label is a class actually, which is subclass of UI view. Okay, I'm taking label here. The user interface can be built in two different ways. One is through programmatically you can build. Second way is through storyboard you can build the user interface. Now, first way I'm going to show you the programmatic way. This is UI label. You can create. I create UI label. UI label is a subclass of UI view. If you simply allocating the memory will not appear on the view. What I am doing when the view is loaded, there I am writing a method func display label. I'm writing a method and I'm calling this method when the view is loaded onto the memory. Display label is a method. Okay, the property name and the method name cannot be same. Display, I'll put display. Display, what I need to do? I am creating an object. I want it to be appeared on the view. So UI view controls view is different and the label is different. So what I am doing is view dot add subview is a method which is part of UI view class, and this is label. It is asking for UI view. UI view means here we do not have any UI view here. You are having subclass of UI view, that is label. Okay, go inside the label and just run it and see if you are able to see the label. V is appeared, but the label you don't see here because the label has no properties. We have simply created empty label which has some properties, but we have not filled them. What are the different properties it has is one thing is text. On top of text, on top of label, you can add the text. Hello world. Is it displayed? Still not displayed. Yes, still not displayed because the view. This is the view. We have not set frame. What is the size and width and height? We have not set. So to set that display label dot translate message masks into constants false. Display label dot frame your setting. CG rect x coordinate, that is 100, y coordinate 100, width 200, height so 30 pixels. See, at least now we can see that. Hello world is displayed. Display method got called. If you do not call here, the label will not be appeared. There should be somewhere this method must have called. So this is the lifecycle method. When the view is loaded into the memory, this method gets called. There I want to display the label. So I am calling this method display label, where I am creating display label and this property I will tell you. And we are setting some frame and giving some properties, that is giving some text. The label is to display the text, so I'm giving text and adding it on top of the view. What is view here? The white color one is the view. On top of that, I'm adding my subview. This is small view, which is subview. The view has a property, view has a method actually called add subview, where I'm passing display label. This is displayed here. Most of the time, what we do is we don't create the controls programmatically. 90% of the time, we create controls through storyboard. Okay. If you want to create through programmatically, this is the way. We definitely see some other controls as well, how to create the controls through programmatically. Okay. First, we need to see using storyboard so that we will come to know what are the different controls we have, what are the purpose of each control, so that we can create the same in program. Now I'm going to the main.storyboard. Here we don't need this. We already understood what is the difference between subclass, taking subclass for controlling the view controller and taking using the base class. UI label is the one control which is subclass of UI view. Whatever controls you see Most of them are subclass of UI view. Some of them are subclass of UI view controller. UI view controller. These are the subclass of UI view controllers. The rest of the things are subclass of UI view. UI view means one frame. You can say this is on top of all, on top of a white color wall. I want to place some frame, small frame. To place some small frame, you need to have some coordinate system where exactly to be positioned the frame. Okay. From the controls, what we have is the first control is label. I'll take you through the class. Label is an object of UI label. Command and click. What you need to do is you need to go inside first. See the property. Text is the property. UI label is a class, subclass of UIU. Text is a property. What it is expecting? String. From the label, you can access the property text. You can access the property font. You can access the property text color, shadow offset, text alignment, line break mode. Based upon the properties of the label, you need to access and you need to work on. Is highlighted, is enabled, number of lines. Draw text vector. These are the properties which we have in the label. Label and a class lo ee properties unnai. Along with these, we also have additional properties which came from superclass, that is UI view. Here we can set a tag, you can set layer, you can access the layer. It is only get access. Okay, you can set the tag, you can read the tag. User interaction enabled, you can set and get is focused, and we have frame, bounce, center, transform. These are the variety of properties which are available in the superclass. Why did they create a label as subclass? Because superclass is having basic functionalities. Those are common functionalities. Those can be extended to create. Those can be inherited to create additional functionalities. ఇక్కడ లేబుల్ ఏం జరుగుతుందంటే ఇంకా యూఐవిని సబ్ క్లాస్ గా సూపర్ క్లాస్ గా తీసుకునేసి లేబుల్స్ కావాల్సిన ప్రాపర్టీస్ ని, లేబుల్ కావాల్సిన మెథడ్స్ ని ఇక్కడ యాడ్ చేస్తుంది. This is why we use the inheritance. The concept of inheritance is used here. EAV has basic common functionalities. So the common functionalities are reused by using inheritance, and we added additional functionalities, whatever they want. For the label, we wanted these additional functionalities. So they created label, and label, the purpose of label is to display the text. We have the text, we have font, text color, line breaking mode, text alignment. There are many properties. Even if you take a button is also a subclass of UI view, which has specific properties which are related to the button, which contains system button, text edge inserts, button type, role. You see, it is subclass of UI control. Actually, we'll see the difference between UI view and UI control. UI control is again subclass of UI view only. Control. If you see, you have seen two different controls, UI label and UI button. The difference here is label. We can say it is a passive component. Even if you click on the label, nothing happens. It is directly subclass of UI view. If you see button, UI button, when you press on button, some action will be triggered. The trigger action is given by the UI control. Okay. These buttons, whenever you click on any control which performs some operation behind, those are called active components or active controls. These are passive components or passive controls. Active ki passive difference ఏంటంటే ఇంకా మనం ఏదైనా కంట్రోల్ మీద క్లిక్ చేస్తే ఇంకా అదేదైనా ఈవెంట్ ని ట్రిగ్గర్ చేస్తే దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాక్టివ్ కాంపోనెంట్ ఆర్ యాక్టివ్ కంట్రోల్. ఇది టెక్నాలజీ కాదు, జనరల్ గా నేను పెట్టుకున్నది. UI label is passive component. Even if you click on label, nothing happens. So to differentiate that, you can categorize them into active controls and passive controls. Okay, this is the label. The next one is text field. Whatever we are designing here will be designed through programmatically for some కంట్రోల్స్, కొన్ని కంట్రోల్స్ మనం ప్రోగ్రామేటిక్ కూడా చూద్దాం ఏదైనా చేయాలో. కాన్సెప్ట్ అనేది సేమ్ ఉంటుంది, మీరు ఏ కంట్రోల్ తీసుకున్నా కూడా కాన్సెప్ట్ వచ్చేసి సేమ్ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, దిస్ ఈస్ బటన్. వాట్ ఐ వాంట్ ఈస్ this is labeled to display the text. This is your text field to input the text. Like you can ask user to enter a value, and button is the one when you press the button, some action will be triggered where whatever you want you can perform. Okay, first I'll take a button. When someone clicks on the button, I want to perform some operation, means I want to execute some block of code. This view controller is handled by the view controller, right? When you press the button, one method, one block of code will be, some block of code will be executed here. Button pressed. I'll just put button pressed. I want to execute this block of code. This is view controller. View controller is a way of representing the view controller class. I'm having a button here. I want to execute this method when user clicks on a button. But this class is entirely separate concept. Separate concept means a separate class. This view controller is handled by the same class, but there is no connection between this button and this method actually. For this class and this view controller, there is a connection. Here is the connection. View controller object, you are handled by the view controller class. But when user clicks on button, we have not said anything. Button, when you press, this block of code will be executed. Basically, we need to connect it. We need to connect the component which is available in the UI view controller canvas. UI view controller canvas. We need to connect the code. To connect a method, we are having one keyword called IBaction. IBaction is a keyword. If you see, there is a small circle. When there is a circle, you can give the connection. You can give the connection. Connections can be given multiple ways. One way, I'm telling you, view controller. I'm going to the connection inspector. In this view controller, there are a couple of connections opened. Button pressed is the one connection which is open. This method I am linking to the button with the touch up inside control event. Now if you see, button pressed is a method which is connected, highlighting here, which is connected to the this button. When user clicks on button, this method will be executed. What is this method? Button pressed or button tapped. Run it and see. Button pressed. I am clicking multiple times. So button pressed is happening. Now I know how to execute some block of code in the view controller when someone presses the button. Now my requirement here is when user enters some information and I want to display it on the label. When user clicks on button, user enters ABC and he clicks button. When user clicks button, I want to clear the text field and display the text whatever is entered by the user on the label. Basically, reading the data and putting the data. That's it. I have to read data from text field and I have to write on the label. When I have to do these operations, when user clicks on button. When user clicks on the button, what we need to do? We need to read the data from the text field. To read the data from the text field, you need to have some reference. You need to have the object of text field. Let text field, UI text field. Also, we also need to have the label. Display label, UI label. These are the two things we are having. When user clicks on the button, what we need to do? Label, display label. Display label is having a property. Okay, in case మీకు తెలియకుండా కనుక మీరు చూడొచ్చు, లేబుల్ జనరల్గా మీ లేబుల్ మనం ఎందుకు చేస్తాం? డిస్ప్లే కోసం మీకు చేస్తాం. డిస్ప్లే ఏం డిస్ప్లే చేస్తాం? టెక్స్ట్ డిస్ప్లే చేస్తాము. కాబట్టి మీరు లేబుల్కి వెళ్ళి చూడొచ్చు కావాలంటే ప్రాపర్టీస్. జనరల్ థింకింగ్ ఉన్నా కూడా మనం లేబుల్ టెక్స్ట్ కోసం ఇచ్చేస్తాం కాబట్టి టెక్స్ట్ మనం ఇక్కడ పెట్టుకోవచ్చు. దాని టెక్స్ట్ ప్రాపర్టీ ఉంది. డిస్ప్లే లేబుల్ డాట్ టెక్స్ట్ ఈక్వల్ టు ఇది పెట్టొచ్చు నేను స్ట్రింగ్. ఇక్కడ మీరు గమనిస్తే ఇంకా LHS ఏదైతే ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుందో RHS కూడా అదే వాళ్ళు స్ట్రింగ్ ని ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. దట్ ఈస్ అగైన్ ఆప్షనల్. స్ట్రింగ్ ని ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. మీరు నిల్ కూడా పెట్టొచ్చు. Then you can keep nil because the text is optional property. Optional string. What I want to put, I want to read the data from the text field. Text field is also having the property called text. Text field is UI control. Man text field మీద క్లిక్ చేస్తే ఇంకా అది కీబోర్డ్ డిస్ప్లే చేస్తుంది కదా. లేబుల్ మీద క్లిక్ చేస్తే కీబోర్డ్ డిస్ప్లే చేయలేదు. అందుకని ఇక్కడ UI control ఉంది. Active component. Text field is also an active component. నేను టెక్స్ట్ ఫీల్డ్ నుంచి టెక్స్ట్ తీసుకొని ఎక్కడ పెడుతున్నా, లేబుల్లో పెడుతున్నా. అండ్ వాట్ వి ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్, టెక్స్ట్ ఫీల్డ్ డాట్ టెక్స్ట్ ఈక్వల్ టు ఎంటీ. I want to clear the text field. Now we have text field, we have label, we have button. For buttons, for button I have not declared any property here because I don't want to access the properties of the button. Here I want to access the properties of the label. I want to access the properties of text field. ప్రాపర్టీస్ అయితే మనం ఎప్పుడైతే యాక్సెస్ చేయాలనుకుంటామో అప్పుడు మనకు ఈ రెఫరెన్సెస్ ఉండాలి. రెఫరెన్స్ అంటే దానికి ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఉండాలి. మనం ప్రాపర్టీస్ని ఎక్కడ యాక్సెస్, బటన్ యొక్క ప్రాపర్టీ యాక్సెస్ చేయట్లేదు. బటన్కి జస్ట్ ఒక మెథడ్ నువ్వు కాల్ అవ్వాలి అని చెప్పాను కానీ బటన్ యొక్క కలర్ కానీ బటన్ యొక్క టెక్స్ట్ కానీ వీఆర్ నాట్ రీడింగ్ ఇట్ ఎనీవేర్. ఓకే, హియర్ దేర్ ఇస్ ఎర్రర్. వాట్ ఈస్ ఎర్రర్? దిస్ యూ హావ్ సింప్లీ డిక్లేర్డ్ the text field and label. Those are not instantiated, those are not created. I don't create it because I have already created label and text field in the view controller. What I say, text field, I'm not, view controller is not going to create the text field. Okay, this week consider me as a label. Sorry, label, consider me as a label. Text field, consider me as text field. We are having label and text field. But to give the connection, we need to have IBoutlet. For giving the connections to the properties, you need to have IBoutlet to give the connections between the methods, method and control. You need to have the IBaction. Actions for methods, outlets for properties. What is this?
Where?
IBoutlet. Not the right IBoutlet. Sorry, yes. Where? Mutability. Asking for mutability. See, yeah. Now we need to do the connections. Label, you are controlled by the view controller. You are referring in the view controller as display label. If you give connections to the button, text field, it won't take. If you give connections to the label to the button, it won't take because display label is an object of label. So in the view controller, we are having label here. We are giving connection. So the same LHS equal to RHS, the same formula here. If this is the label in the view controller, if you have the label, those two can be connected. Text field cannot be connected to the label or button, only to the text field. We are given connections to the properties and we are given connections to action. I am entering 1, 2, 3 display. It is moved. And just entering 2, 3, 4 display. Keyboard alert level. This is the one thing which we need to handle. ABC is printed. And one more thing what I want is when user clicks enters ABC, I want to convert the small ABC into capital case. The first letter should be capital. This is not looking good. To do that, what we can do? Text field or text. We got the text, that is string. We are having capitalized string, right? Here, capitalized string. I am calling a property on top of string. A, B, C, something. Capitalized. Okay. I want to hide the keyboard when user clicks on display. When user clicks on display, I want to hide the keyboard. How to hide the keyboard? There are multiple ways again. Now it is highlighting text field, right? Text field dot reason first responder is one way. ABC or something. Display. When user clicks on display, the keyboard is disappeared. The second way is view dot end editing. Keyboard is displayed. Same thing happened. Keyboard is dismissed. These are the two different ways to hide the keyboard. What I want is I don't want to click on the button to disappear, but I want to, when user taps outside, I want to hide the keyboard. When user clicks outside, I want to hide the keyboard. For that, we are having a method called purchase begin. Here also, you can write v.end editing. This is override. Override means this method is already present, already part of UI view controller. Here you can use end editing or text field at end editing. Text field we generally use rarely because if there are multiple text fields, if there are multiple text fields, what you need to do? You need to put text field 1.reason first responder, text field 2.reason first responder, and so on. If you use view.end editing, wherever you are in, whether you are in the first text field or second text field, it will be dismissed automatically, irrespective of the text field. Okay, the label is to display the text. I'm tapping here, nothing is happening. When you tap on active control, something is happening. When you tap on active control, something is happening. Button is active control, text field is active control, label is not active control. Even if you are tapping on the label, nothing is happening. This is passive control. For the passive controls also, we can add actions by using gestures. That is again a separate concept. For today, these are the three different controls. The basic controls what we have. One is for displaying the text. Second one is to take the input from the user. Third one is to submit or perform any operation when user clicking on that control. Now we see the different properties available in the label. Label అనేది సింపుల్ గా టెక్స్ట్ డిస్ప్లే చేయడం. ఇది జనరల్ థింకింగ్ ఆలోచించినా కూడా టెక్స్ట్ కి ఏముంటుంది, కలర్ ఉంటుంది, టెక్స్ట్ కి ఏముంటుంది, ఫాంట్ ఉంటుంది, సైజ్ ఉంటుంది, అలైన్మెంట్ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, ఎన్ని నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ లైన్స్ లో ఉండాలి ఆ టెక్స్ట్ అనేది ఉంటుంది. జనరల్ గా అదే మన జనరల్ సినారియోలో రాదు. మనకు జనరల్ గా మల్టిపుల్ లైన్స్ రాయాలి, ఎన్ని లైన్స్ ఉండాలి అది ఉంటుంది. ఇంకా టెక్స్ట్ యొక్క సైజు, వెయిట్ ఉంటుంది. టెక్స్ట్ యొక్క ఇంకా కొన్ని కేటగిరీస్ ఉంటాయి, బోల్డ్, ఇటాలికా, ఫాంట్ అనేసి, ఫాంట్ వెయిట్ ఉంటుంది. ఇవన్నీ టెక్స్ట్ జనరల్ టెక్స్ట్ ఉండేవి. ఆ టెక్స్ట్ చేంజ్ చేసి ఇంకా లేబుల్లో ఉన్న టెక్స్ట్ కూడా ఆటోమేటిక్గా చేంజ్ అవుతుంది. లెట్ మీ డూ దోస్ థింగ్స్. The properties, most of the properties you can access from the property inspector by selecting the label. You can choose the property inspector. Here you will see the different properties it has. Label is subclass of EIV only, right? When you create the label, you can access the properties of subclass as well as superclass. Subclass is UI label, superclass is UI view. Even when you select the label, you can see the properties of superclass as well as subclass. Okay, let me see the label. Label has some text, right? No data. By default, there is no data. I want to put the text color. Default label color. I want red color. Text color. I want to change the font. Font can be changed through storyboard only. Through storyboard programmatically as well. You can change. This is the font style: bold, bold, italic, etc. Text. Number of lines. By default, it is 1. We'll see how to display multiple lines and enable baseline text alignment. This is the text alignment. I'll put default. Here the size. We can increase the size. You can also select the style, custom style, Helvetica. There are some custom fonts here. You can choose, or you can use the default theme. Default is San Francisco by default. That is system italic. And the font size we can set here. To programmatic also we can set. And truncate. Truncating is, I'll show you what exactly the truncate is. Truncate tail means at the end you show the dots. Truncate head and middle. Middle means in the middle you will see the dots when the text is more than the label width. Truncate head also we have. And this is EIV. EIV means frame of the label. Frame of the label. You can set the you can set the tag means identifier, and you can set the background color for the label. This is background color. This is text color. Tint color you cannot see here, I guess, for the label. And then we're adding some other basic properties: opaque, and alpha. We have alpha is transparency. You can see there, transparency by default it is 1. 0 means nothing visible. Okay, these are the different properties it has. Even the same properties can be used, can be accessed through programmatically. Even if you choose text field is also having some couple of properties along with the EIV properties, which are subclass properties. Okay, this is all about 3 controls. We see in depth how exactly to use them. Label properly chali, text field control chali, button actions, button properties use of the button generally access plus how to apply the images to the button, etc. We see. This generally manaku components ela unnai components dani ekkada subclass oka properties unnai, superclass oka properties unnai, మనం ఏ విధంగా కనెక్షన్స్ ఇవ్వాలి, టెక్స్ట్ ఫీల్డ్ లో యాక్టివ్ ఉన్నప్పుడు మనము కీబోర్డ్ ఏ విధంగా డిస్మిస్ చేయాలి, వాట్ ఆర్ ద డిఫరెంట్ వేస్ అనేసి ఇవాళ కాన్సెప్ట్.